is.
All right, away we go. It is a live nightcap, a live late night Sunday night nightcap here on BearcatJournal.com, brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Galactic Fried Chicken. As always, visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. They will deliver right to your front door anywhere inside the 275 loop, or you can have them serve it to you in person, Dayton, Kentucky, Wednesday through Sunday, lunch and dinner, and they will get you taken care of with the Galactic goodness. All right, it's that time. Here we go. And guess what? Special guest time tonight. None other than my main man, Jizzleberg. I thought you would go with Day Berg.
Well, I mean, I've actually been called Jizzle before, way back, like in my early 20s.
I don't
when
want
I
to
worked
hear
at a
about
mortgage
that.
when I worked at a
That is not
mortgage
story
company.
I'm interested in.
Well, no, they would call me Bizzle, and sometimes they called me Jizzle at this mortgage company I worked at in like 2003. So I already had that one baked in, but
I thought that one might go a different way.
Yeah, no.
Oh. So what's up, my brother?
I'm doing a lot of things every day, always. I got a little downtime now. I wanted to talk some UC hoops with you is really what I've been wanting to do. And then about 7:30 tonight, you called. I was like, yeah, what's up, man?
You know, driving home from a volleyball tournament. It was an interesting volleyball dad experience this weekend. They were completely flat on Saturday. They got dominated Saturday, swept. They didn't win a single set. They went 0-3. They lost all 6 sets. They were all close except for one. The first one was bad. They had a really good spring and summer, and they were playing really well. And they just had one of those days where it was like nothing went right. And then today, they bounced back. They had 2 games today. They won their bracket of the tournament, and they won in straight sets. They won very easily in both games today. So it was good to see them handle a little adversity and bounce back from a bad day and get things going. So
was it kind of like when UC salvaged that Louisville game in Maui?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, well, UC looked really good against Arizona. That not really good, but they held their own against Arizona.
I mean, they made some threes, but other than that, they didn't really look too good.
Arizona, but it was not a good Saturday.
Yeah.
At the volleyball courts at Avon High School, which I swear looks like a college campus. Avon High School in Indianapolis. They had.
You see your boy over there?
Who?
Flory Badunga?
No, he's on the other side. He's in Kokomo. He's not in Indianapolis. He's out in the boonies. He was not hanging out at Avon High School watching volleyball today. But made it home tonight. Had a good weekend. I will say one of the cool things is she's got a really good group of kids that she plays with, and a really good group of parents, which you never know on these select teams, because a lot of times at these ages, like, you don't know these people. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. You're getting yourself into I didn't know a single kid or parent on her team. And it's been a really good spring and summer experience. So, they had a bad day yesterday, but they bounced back and got back on track today. So
it makes for a more pleasant drive back. Those 2 hours.
Yeah, we had a good time. She was a little frustrated yesterday. She's a competitor. So it was good. It was good. So let's get to the news of the weekend, my friend. They can be a bunch of little bitches. You're right, Chelsea. And she didn't get a bunch of little bitches. She got a bunch of really good, calm, even-keeled, like there's no drama. We were talking to the parents. I know one of the parents on one of the 14-year-old teams, and that's like drama. Like they're going at each other in the group chat. Like, whoa, like, what are we doing? It's youth volleyball. Like, let's take a step back and tone it down a little bit. We have gotten lucky on that front. But anyhow, wow, we're at 50 already. So the people are excited to hear from Berg on the addition of one 7-foot Aziz Bandago. He started his career at Akron. He played last year at Utah Valley. We wouldn't have known much
Kicked
about
our
this young
ass.
man, except for the fact that he dominated Cincinnati in the NIT quarterfinals. He became a very clear target of Cincinnati and the staff at the minute that he hit the portal, and they got it done yesterday. They bring him into the fold. They add rim protection. It's interesting because this roster kind of goes against, what we see as the modernization of basketball, where teams are going smaller instead of bigger. But man, I think he's such an interesting piece as we look at the entrance into the Big 12 and how Cincinnati stacks up in that first season.
All right. So what are you able to divulge about the whole recruiting of him? Because I know early on you mentioned to me that there was a chance to get him. And then we hear, okay, here's his list. And you hear Duke on the list. And you hear some other schools of note. And then,
I do think
there was like nothing for a week or 10 days. And then all of a sudden it was just like announcement, I'm going to Cincinnati.
I can't. There's some obviously that I have to kind of, keep off the record. But I mean, I knew immediately when he entered the portal that was somebody that I know there was someone relatively new to the staff that had a connection, that had some influence in the situation, and that made it very clear that Cincinnati was going to be a player in this recruitment. I know, here's the thing with a Duke. Duke can't afford, in terms of perception, to make themselves look bad. So unless they know everything is going to go perfect and break exactly their way, Duke is going to be a little bit reluctant. One of those things being, is he going to be able to get a waiver? And would that waiver be granted in a place like, Durham, North Carolina, when his roots in America are in Akron? So it's a situation where, like, if they didn't think that it was going to be very simple, like the kid goes in the portal, he visits Duke, he commits to Duke, everything is wrapped up. Like, Duke is not going to get involved with that. And Cincinnati did kind of have a situation like that. And how do you know Cincinnati had a situation like that? Well, guess what? He only visited one school. His only visit when he entered the portal was Cincinnati, and he committed to Cincinnati. That tells you right there, Cincinnati had a very good handle on this situation going into, like, him becoming available.
So was there a connection? Was there a connection other than the fact that we just played them? Played his team.
Yeah, there was a connection from somebody on staff to somebody that was in Aziz's camp.
And
a lot of times in this day and age, it's, especially with foreign players, like, this is something that, like, people need to understand now. Like, agents in international basketball, it's not like it has been for the longest time in college sports. For the longest time in college sports, an agent, like, if you were involved with an agent, you were immediately ineligible. That has changed some now that you're allowed to have an agent as long as they're certified by the NCAA and, you go through the right channels. But in international basketball, everybody has an agent because that's how it works. Like, you have representation. You're working towards a professional career. So you have an agent. So all these international guys have agents. And I think Cincinnati had some connections in that world. And, it turns out when you're dealing with international prospects, Seamus Lukosius was a similar situation. That if you have connections to the agent world, you have connections to the kid, and you have a good chance of getting them.
And then you have to pay them money.
Well, that's NIL is.
I know.
That's how the world works now.
It's like, so you have to sell them on coming to your program and then also give them money. Whereas before, you could slip them some money and that would convince them to come. I mean, it's still partially part of it, I'm sure.
No, you have to do things the right way.
Yeah.
Like if you're, yeah.
Yeah, well, either way, I mean, dude, 7-footer, double, couple blocks a game, looked like he had a decent rotation on his free throws like that. That's a hell of a get. Whether he plays this year or not, that's going to shore up the front court. I mean, anytime you can have rim protection. I mean, you talked about how modernization of the basketball is a lot of small ball and a lot of interchangeable parts, but you see a lot of zags going on the last, 3-4 years where teams put a big guy in there and it can make a huge difference deterring the other team in the paint. And so, last year, Vic was okay protecting the rim, but this guy's at a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, and now you're going to have both of them on the roster. And actually, Jamil Reynolds is a pretty decent rim protector as well, especially when he's down at his target weight in the 250, 260 range. Like, he's not an elite shot blocker, but he can make a difference at the rim if you're driving down.
I don't need him to block shots. I just need him to wall up. Like, that's the same. Exactly. That's also counts as rim protection. So yeah, I mean, even Odie too. He got better with his footwork, especially on on the defensive end, and so they have a lot of size. Assuming he's eligible.
Yeah, I mean, for this exercise, we'll assume that him and Jamil are eligible.
Yeah,
we don't have that answer. I'm never. Everybody, I've been asked 100 times, will he get the waiver? I will not, do not, and cannot ever predict what the NCAA will do because it never makes any sense.
Well, in the big picture overall,
sometimes it's very simple. Sometimes it's very complicated. I don't know which way that they'll go.
If you look at the overall big picture of UC basketball over the last bunch of decades, it used to not go their way. Like Mick's first year, that Hernall Hall,
yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, for this exercise, I'm not going to ask you the size of the bag that he got. I'm sure people can imagine, or at least take a stab at it.
It doesn't
matter. I know.
I'm somebody. I don't put my hands in other people's pockets, so I just don't care.
I'm just saying, like.
No. I'm just explaining my stance on it.
Yeah.
He's a great player. So guess what? Great players get NIL dollars. That's how it's supposed to work.
Right. So when we talked earlier, and I was like, man, this roster has everything, right? Like, I mean, you talk about depth, size, shot blocking, shot creation, shot makers. Now that when you add Frederick in, I mean, then you said, there's exactly. Like so really the one question mark that we identified, or you brought it up, was the point guard position, just because
we don't know.
With losing Adams Woods, who was going to be kind of our like liaison for the new point guards into this program, right, and how to play Division I, the position at Division I level. Now you have a freshman and then a guy who's at JUCO, who's never played at this level, and you're going right into the Big 12. Not right into it. Obviously, you've got a couple months to.
But you're playing season 1 in the Big 12.
Exactly. So let's. I would love to talk about that aspect of like the point guard / like the initiating of offense with this roster, because I think James and Davion Thomas both they're both arriving with like a lot of potential and not, I don't know, but hype is the right word, but just from obviously James was ranked high. I know that Thomas was what, a top 5 in the whole JUCO class.
He's essentially the number 1 guard in junior college.
Okay, so I think I think we understand about Jizzle James. He's going to be a freshman. His dad played in the NFL. You always like to have that kind of lineage, even if it's not the same sport. And he's tough. He gets downhill. He's a dog. He's going to work his balls off. He's going to be really good. But coming in, we don't really know. But Thomas actually has had a little seasoning in the junior college. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but have you not seen him in person?
I have not seen him in person.
Okay, so what have you heard through all of the sources that you have about him?
So what I know is he's got a lot of qualities similar to Jizzle. Downhill, attacking guard, really, really good mid-range game where he can stop on a dime and pull up if teams are sagging and playing to keep him away from the rim. Can pull up and hit the 17-footer, 15-footer. Got a floater game. Really good passer. Athletic enough to really get downhill on the bounce in transition, beat a defense down a floor, throw down a nasty dunk in transition, because I know, that's something that you're a big fan of. He improved his three-point shooting in junior college. I don't ever count on that translating unless, like, if a guy's taking 5 threes a game in junior college and hitting on like 47%, okay, that guy can clearly shoot the basketball. If you're shooting in that 37 to 40% range, I think it'll translate some, but I'm not counting on you to be a 40% shooter right away in college, like Division I, high major college basketball. But aggressive defender, good on ball, probably a guy that off the ball is going to have to learn team concept. Going to have to learn, like, okay, how does this particular coach want me to defend ball screens? How does this particular coach want me to defend pin downs and, stuff that teams are going to do to try to get their primary ball handler open. Those are things that both Day and Jizzle are going to have to learn.
Right.
That the finer points of defending college offenses, even though anymore a lot of it is just flow, where it's read and react, and you're taking what each defense is. Okay, we're playing this team and their weakness is defending this, so we're going to emphasize playing to that. Like scouting report, I get I'm using a lot of words to say, like, how do they adjust to scouting report defense?
Yeah,
because that, especially when you get into the Big 12, is going to be critical, because each team is really good, but pretty different. Like, you're not looking, that's always the concern, especially in a new league, that you're not familiar with every coach, every team, every system in the league. What is that grind going to be like for two guys that have never played high major Division I basketball?
Yeah, and that's why Adams Woods, yeah, I get it,
would have been a critical piece.
Yeah.
He decided to do his own thing. More power to him. Like, that's college basketball in 2022. Guess what? There could be other guys on this roster that look like now, okay, well, the roster looks pretty set. We got 13 guys. I think I might be 11. I think I might be 9. I think I might be 7, and I don't want to be 7, right? Like, as the next step is really interesting to me, Berg, because the next step is everybody gets to campus and they start summer workouts. And then along with summer workouts are open gym. So for June and July, you've got 8 weeks of pretty much every day you're in the gym with your team, with the coaching staff, or at least 3, 4, 5 days a week, depending on which portion of the summer workout that you're in. And then you're playing open gym 3, 4, 5 times a week too. That all starts coming up in June. So guess what? Guys start to get a feel. Where am I at? what does this roster look like? How do I fit? And then everything adjusts again. But also your coaching staff gets to find out, you know what, Berg? What did Day and Jizzle look like at this level playing with this roster that's very talented? And then you can determine, do we need to get another guard? Do we need to go get a combo guard that if things go south, we have a guy that can come in and give us important minutes, to supplement our two guys? Or you say, I feel pretty good about what we recruited. We recruited these guys for a reason. We feel great about the two guys that we got to play point guard, and we're going to let them take their lumps and figure it out as a duo. It's the staff has a really interesting position that they have to develop here over the next 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it is.
And also this being the first year in the Big 12, the whole team's going to be taking lumps this year, more than likely. So it's like, because the question I was thinking when you were talking there was, well, what if neither one of them is really ready, to step into
then
that
the staff
starting
didn't
spot?
do the job they thought they did
Right.
recruiting.
Right. So I mean, exactly. But so I guess it would either be one of the two. But if neither one of them is, then you're going to have to go with Lukosius, running a lot of stuff and putting Frederick out there with maybe Skillings. And it doesn't really matter who brings the ball up, but when you get across half court, you run certain actions. But that's I mean, who knows? That could be insane, and one of them could easily be ready. Both of them seem like they could push the pace hard, off of misses and makes, off of turnovers, any kind of change of possession. I know that Wes, from what he did at NCG was, he likes to push the pace and get there, get some action going before the defense can get set, right? So it seems like both of those have that in them. So maybe they're not like ready to run a half court in crunch time type of stuff, but for the other 35 minutes of the game, I'm sure they can figure out a way to affect it. Because I also think about, like, well, without Nolly, he was a major, and obviously to Julius, they were both, not only were they shot creators, but they were also floor spacers because they shot the ball so well from three. So like James comes in, he's not necessarily known as a 3-point shooter. Fredericks is, Lukosius is, right?
Yep.
And then you're going to play with two bigs, or I mean, there's a million ways they can play the 4 and the 5 with this type of roster. So I guess I just like, we got a long way to go, but I always think about, okay, point guard, half court offense initiation and running actions, and then shot creation and floor spacing. And that's where I feel like last year's team, surprisingly to me, that was some of the best floor spacing we've had in, I don't know, maybe since, I guess, probably the Kashmir and Jaquan.
Yeah, but guess what was the problem, Berg? They had spacing, and they had nobody that could take the ball off the bounce and just get to the rim.
Right. And so now those two guys
right?
can do, but exactly. So these two guys come in with a reputation for being able to do that. And so if you can space the floor with Seamus and Fredericks, and then you figure out
Frederick.
Is it Frederick?
Yeah.
No, I don't know why I thought that's.
And actually,
yeah, you're right.
The funny part about that is, and people love misspelling names. It's literally spelled Fred Rick. Like if you have a friend named Fred and you have a friend named Rick, you just take their two names and you put them together. Fredrick.
So can we also? You think we can call him Fred Wreck, like the awesome producer of many incredible hip hop songs?
If he makes 47% from three, you can call him Fred Wreck.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So either way, I mean, there's a lot. That's like where my main focus will be looking at this roster, because I feel like they've got the size, they got rim protection, they've got block, like paint scoring. You got multiple options that can, and especially with Mike Roberts working with these guys.
That's one thing I wanted to get to in this podcast.
Okay.
Mike Roberts is an excellent big man coach. Look at how much the bigs advanced last year during the season, working with
Odie.
Mike Roberts, Odie, Vic. Like, look at the
Yeah.
leap Vic took in his second year on the court. Now think of Mike Roberts getting to work with all these guys together that all have a very realistic, high level skill set. We're not talking about, Berg. For 2 years, we spent so much talking about one skill guys that could do one thing at the high major level, but everything else was kind of. You're starting to get a bunch of guys on your roster that can do multiple things at the high major level. And that's when you start turning into a team that can make some noise.
For sure. So then he's got, I mean, Reynolds, obviously a major low post threat, but you can work on his body with Rayfelt, and then you can work on technique even a little further with Roberts. I mean, over the course of the year, I'd love to see how much he improves. Is he able to because he transferred twice too? So is he also in question for his eligibility?
Yeah, him and Aziz both need a waiver.
Oh yeah, man, we need at least go 1 for 2 on that.
For sure, but both of them have multiple years of eligibility left. Like we'll see. Like I don't have a great feel one way or the other because I don't have any trust or belief in the NCAA that they're either A, going to like be tough and like crack down, or that B, in the end of the day, they're not going to have a backbone and everybody's going to be able to get the waiver. Like it's just a matter of like what stance they take. They say they're going to take the hardline stance, but what we know is they can't win in court. They lose in court every time they go to court. So are they really going to put their foot down and try to take another battle to court to find out that they're going to get their ass kicked again?
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me.
Wow.
They were adamant. Transfers have to sit. You transfer, you have to sit. And then all of a sudden, nobody has to sit anymore. Everybody gets one free transfer. Now, okay, well, the one free transfer is fine. But the second time, nobody gets it. Everybody has to sit. Like, okay, are they really going to be able to have the backbone to stand up to that? Or is it just talk again from a group that doesn't have a lot of teeth in the things that they talk about? It's going to be an interesting offseason on that front to see one way or the other.
Do we have a timeline on it, or is it just open?
Yeah,
I never do.
I don't predict anything it could be. We could hear next week that one of them's clear, and the other one we could hear like November 12th on what their decision is. Who knows with those people? There's no rhyme or reason or consistency to anything they do.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Who does know? Can we do 2.5 minutes on Josh Reed?
Yeah, it's Josh Reed, Rayvon Griffith, Sage Tolentino. It's going to be interesting for guys at that spot on the roster, because I think I said this when the offseason started, Berg. The goal of this coaching staff was to improve the top of the roster. And they did. I think they went out and they added, 2 point guards that are going to play a ton. And they added 4 transfers that are going to play a ton. But guess what? That's now 6. Vic is 7. Dan Skillings is 8. You're starting to get real thin on, Odie figures to be a factor somewhere on this roster. That's 9. If Josh Newman or if John Newman is healthy, he figures to be a factor somewhere in this roster. That's 10.
Yeah.
There's only 200 minutes. I love Josh Reed. I predicted Josh Reed to be 1,000-point scorer in college.
That's why I brought him up, because I know how you felt about him, and obviously, Coach Dollar, he got him out of Atlanta, right? So they were excited about getting him.
Josh Reed is super talented. He's really skilled. He's got a high basketball IQ. He knows how to defend. He knows how to shoot. He knows how to play the game. He's got a great feel. he's going to have to earn his way this summer. And the most important 2 months of Josh Reed's basketball career are upon him this June and July.
Yeah. What do you think he has to do?
Kick ass.
Yeah, just what
just be
aspect of his
reliable.
game? Yeah.
Earn trust. That's the ultimate number one thing with the coach, right? Like, earn trust.
Right.
Show that you are worth your position on the roster. And if they trust you, they're going to call your number. They're going to put you in the game. They're going to put you in critical situations. The other team is on a 6-2 run, or and it looks like they might start to get hot, and it's your turn to come in. And you come in, do you hit 2 threes? Do you space the floor and make a great pass to a cutter? That's one of the things that I love about Josh Reed, his ability to not only be the passer to somebody that makes a great cut, but to be the guy that makes a great cut when the defense is loading up on somebody else. And Josh Reed cuts backdoor, gets a pass, goes strong, finishes, makes the layup, gets fouled, and makes the free throw. Like, those are the things he's going to have to show that he's going to be able to bring to this roster.
Huh. Okay.
But it gets tight, man. Like, you can't play.
Man.
You can't play 13 guys. You can't.
No.
Nobody in the history of basketball has been able ever to do it. We have a 13-man rotation where everybody's happy and everybody's playing between 15 and 20 minutes a night. It doesn't work that way. So Josh is going to have a great June and July. Do I think he's capable of that? Yes. I've scouted the kid. I've watched him play a bunch of games. I have faith in his ability. But you're now on a roster that added not only 2 transfers at your position, you have one of the best emerging sophomores, you think, in the class in Dan Skillings. And you add Raybon Griffith, who's a top 75 talent. Now you're in the mix, right? You're in the mix every day. Fighting every practice, every second you're on the floor with the coaches in June and July for summer workouts to show I deserve 12, 15 minutes a game, whatever it may be.
Wow. Okay. That was a good 2.5 minutes.
Do you disagree?
No, because when he came in and with Skilling's obviously his skill set or his energy level translated last year to more run. So
yeah,
there were times when I saw Josh here, I was like, ooh, I like what he can do, but he never
last year. He was stuck behind Landers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, are you taking Landers off the court? You can't. You weren't good enough to do that.
And then at the 4, if you were going to play the 4, you had Odie and Davenport playing a ton of minutes.
Right.
So, yeah, you're right. There was no real chance for him. This year, now you bring in another big dude, and you got Seamus. So, yeah, it's clogged.
He's going to have to earn it. He's going to have to go out. When they do, like, their three-point shooting drills, like, you got 3 minutes to hit however many threes you can hit. The standard is, like, 45 is really good. If you can get to 50, that's, like, you can really shoot it. Josh Reed's going to have to, in those drills, hit 40, 45, 50 threes regularly.
Yeah.
So that way, that earns trust. Then your coaching staff is like, shit, Josh is hitting 53s in 3 minutes. Like, we're going to have to put him on the floor.
Yep. Man. All right, that's my whole list. Look here, I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can read this, but that's my list. Everything we talked about. Josh Reed made the list.
There you go. And again, I love Josh Reed's talent. I love his
potential.
You do.
Yeah.
But he's gonna have to step the shit up this summer.
That's right.
Because look, I've been talking to a bunch of Big 12 people. I've gotten to know a lot of these guys that cover the Big 12. I know some assistants in the Big 12. The one thing that has constantly come back to me, Berg, is when you talk about like starter level talent, you have to have in this league, it's the number one league in the country. You have to have 6, 7. The best teams have probably 8 guys that are starter level players. And what I mean by starter level players are guys that on most teams, they're good enough to start. You have guys that are good enough to start on a lot of teams. Now, you only get 5. So when I say that, that doesn't mean the guy has to be a starter, but it means he's able to come in and play 25 minutes, 30 minutes on any given night and produce like a starter. What you don't have a lot of in the Big 12 are guys that play 27 minutes and produce 4 points and 2 rebounds. That doesn't exist in this league. If you're going to be a starter level player, you're going to play maybe 22 minutes a night. You're going to average 7 points and 5 rebounds. That'll suffice if you're a guy off the bench. But that means you're a starter level player in that league. Does Cincinnati, that's my question for you. Do you think Cincinnati has enough starter level players as this roster with 13 scholarship players is constructed today?
It's closer than it was last year.
Right.
But
I know a lot of people are worried. They don't have a Landers Nolly. They don't have a Dave DeJulius. But what they do have now, you hope, is 7, 8 guys. If they got point guard right, if their evaluations on point guard, again, back to the original topic of this show. The second topic, Aziz Bandago's commitment was the original topic. But if they got the point guard evaluation right on Day Thomas and Jizzle James, then you have 8 guys that you feel can play starter minutes on any given night in the best league in America. Is that right? We'll find out.
Indeed, we will. Well, Aziz Bandago, I mean, that's big. That's a big one. So, assuming that we have some strong point guard play for this roster, this. I think it's going to be a fun year no matter what, because there's not a whole lot of pressure on them. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anyone's picking them to finish very high in the Big 12. I don't think anyone's going to pick them to make the NCAA tournament, even with these additions.
No, I think they'll be a high bubble team, fringe NCAA tournament team with these additions.
Right. So, but it's not like they're coming in like, man, they got like Houston's going in the Big 12 with probably a lot more, a lot more expectations. And this is just like, figure out. I mean, a lot of these guys on the roster are assuming the transfer portal doesn't infect this roster, but a lot of these guys are here for multiple years. So it's like, just go through the first year and have some triumphs and have some highs, have some lows, and have some fun. A lot more dunkers on this team than last year, right? Jizzle, Rayvon,
Dan.
Yeah,
Dan tries to dunk on people's head.
Yeah, he didn't get
one, but he was trying.
He's
trying to dunk on everybody.
Yeah.
As he gets stronger, some of those are going to go down.
Yeah, and Jameel Reynolds loves to cram on people.
Yeah,
and
you're giving people where to go again, I think.
I know. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to get Lauren something to munch on here, so I'm gonna have to jump off. But
okay.
But all right, Bearcat Journal Nation. I'll be around. This is my busiest season of the year with the landscaping. But we're
not even going to promote your landscaping business. You don't have any. Do not go to leaslandscaping.com and try to get Berg to come do your landscaping. He's busy.
Well, no, that's not true. I'm not too busy for Bearcat fans. Never too busy for Bearcat fans, but we are very damn busy. We're blessed to be very busy, but Bearcat fans, I'll always do what I can for you. You know that.
I know. I'm having some fun with you.
I know. All right.
You
Well, yeah,
told me, you
man.
were like, I want to spend some money to advertise, but I can't advertise because then everybody would be calling me, and I can't do it. I don't have the open calendar space. Pencil anybody? I'll be there at 1:30 on Tuesday, but I got to be done by 1:45. All right. We appreciate everybody. We're over. You sure you got to go? We got 103 people in here right now.
Man, I would love to hang out a little bit longer. Just it's not gonna happen. I wish I could. So how about this? When we get into the summer here and we get some action going, we'll do a much longer
I'll
one.
get you
I'll
down to
write
an
some
open
stuff.
gym.
Yeah,
like
get
I
me down
always
there.
do.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Once everybody's here, I'll get you down to an open gym, and hopefully when, like we have done the past couple of years, when all the vets are in town and you get to watch the new guys go up against Troy and Kev and, Gary and Trey and
Kane
Corey
tore everybody apart.
Octavius.
I loved it when we went last year. Kane was just roasting everybody. He's so good.
Yeah.
I love Kane.
All right. Well, big love to everybody that's here. All right. You go ahead and go. I'm gonna
Yeah, you stay on.
You stay on. We got 105 people. I gotta stay on and do something.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on.
No, thank you for being here. We love you.
Yeah, man. All right, go Cats. We'll see you.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Right.
Appreciate you, Bird.
Yep, you too.
There you go. Mark. Crap. Mark Rains, DM me your email address on Twitter. I'm gonna have you on. I wanna talk some Bearcat basketball with Mark Rains. Can you do that, Mark? Are you good to come on to the show for a few minutes and talk about this roster? I know you're one guy. Mark is the biggest Victor Locken guy on the planet. And I think I think Mark's right. There's a lot of people that are discrediting how good Vic can be and how good he will be as they head into the Big 12. I want to keep the show going for a little bit. I was, Berg, if for those that don't know, he's got a lot of family stuff that he has to take care of. He has to be kind of the caretaker and provider. Jason said Mark's a bigger Vic guy than Vic's agents. I'll check Twitter. Mark, have you sent me anything yet? Haven't heard from Mark yet. Maybe Mark stopped watching. Enjoyed Bird tonight. Look, Chelsea, I'm sorry. I know. Here's the fear I know on the Taylor Swift secret songs every night is that when she sings a secret song, you have to cross it off the list. That you're not going to get to hear that secret song. The problem is Taylor scheduled the Cincinnati show at the end of the tour. So she screwed you over. Because if she would have scheduled Cincinnati at the beginning of the tour, you would be getting these great secret songs. John, that's a great question. Newman back to full strength. I think that's something we will find out in June and July when he has to go through 2 months of summer workouts. Does his knee hold up to that? Here's the thing. Last summer it did. He made it all the way to the super secret scrimmage against Purdue. And then his knee was a little bit sore. And then the dogs were barking and he had a situation where he had to have surgery, and he couldn't make it back in time to play this past season. So we won't know that. We don't have that answer until they start going through summer workouts and we find out, where is his knee at? How is it recovered? Is it good to go? If it is good to go, John Newman is absolutely an important piece of this roster. If it's not, I think John and the staff have to have some important conversations. That, look, I don't think the knee is going to hold up and be a viable thing long term for this program. So there is an interesting, development to watch with John. Because I know this, going through last June and July, most everybody on the staff felt that John had the best summer of anyone on the roster. And then the eve of the season, he was no longer available. They will absolutely need his perimeter defending, because there are going to be moments where the other team has I hearken this back to when they were in the Big East. And for a good portion of that, they had Rashad Bishop. And Rashad Bishop every night was able to come in and put the clamps on the best scoring option on the wing for everybody that they played. John Newman has that type of defensive ability. If he's healthy, if the knee is clear and he's good to go, he can give you that. And you can kind of rotate between the four: Dan Skillings, C.J. Frederick, John Newman, Seamus Lukosius, with a mix and match, and Raymond Griffith, with a mix and match of, we have this many guys for these spots. Right now we need shooting. We use this combo. We need defense. We use this combo. We need a little mix of both. We can use both. John Newman's critical, but we're not going to know where his knee is at until he goes through these 8 weeks coming up at the start of June through July. And if he makes it through, then you feel pretty good about where things stand. If he struggles again and the knee is swollen and it's sore and he can't go through those workouts, or, he has to take a week off every 2 weeks, or then as a staff, you're going to have to start deciding, are we comfortable with this? Where do we stand? And John's going to have to start deciding, like, if the knee's not ready to go, he's going to have to figure out what's next. Because basketball might not be it if his knee's not responding to the needs that he has. So that part's fascinating for me. Samuel, that's a complicated thing because different things happen at different times. So I can't remember the kid's name from Oklahoma State. That was happening right as Jameel Reynolds committed to Cincinnati. Like, immediately. Musa Cisse. Sorry. It popped in my head. That was happening right as he committed. So as time goes on, you can start to have these conversations and say, look, this guy compliments you. He doesn't work against you. He doesn't work against your minutes. He complements your minutes. But that's not easy to sell 3 days after a kid commits or a week after a kid commits. It's human nature. And as you're able to continue to have these conversations and say, this is what we need. This is what we need to make our team great. And you're able to make players understand. You win by having as many really, really, really good players as you can have, and then figuring out how to utilize them. Sometimes the guy right after he commits is like, that's my spot. And then he gets in, he starts dealing with the coaching staff, he starts integrating himself into the program. And then you see what Jameel said today. We're going to have the best rotation of big men in America. Because with time, you can talk to these guys about things. With time, you can get comfortable with the situation at work with somebody new that just got hired. When they get hired, you're like, nah, fuck that. I ain't talking to that dude. That dude's coming for my job. I don't like him. Now he might be, but when you get a chance to talk about it, that works out. Yeah, I haven't heard from Mark. I don't think Mark wants to play with us tonight. It's too bad. All right. Well, I have had an insanely long weekend. When would they have the understanding of both guys and their waivers by season start? I talked about this a little bit. Top G, you could hear that in 2 weeks, you could hear that one of them is clear, and you might not hear on the other one until they're like getting ready for, whatever holiday tournament they're playing in at Thanksgiving. Like it's so with the NCAA, there's no real feel for when anything is going to happen. Sometimes it just happens in the middle of the night, and then the next day somebody's like, hey, this waiver got approved, or this got granted, or whatever. And it's like July, and you're like, well, I didn't expect that. And sometimes they drag into October and November, and the kid's in limbo whether they can practice or not. There's nothing that makes sense about the NCAA and the way that they the way that they decide when waivers are going to be granted or decisions are going to be made. And a lot of that is, conversation with doctors and lawyers and, understanding like a thing like Aziz, where he's from Africa, but when he came to America, he was in Akron. And he has built a foundation in Akron, which is not too far from Cincy. Is that close enough by NCAA standards to qualify for moving closer to home? I've seen some situations where, the situation was 15 miles outside of what the NCAA deemed acceptable, and they decided to stand their ground. And then the kid goes to court and whatever, and it gets reversed or not. Like, I just will never pretend to know what they're thinking, because what they're thinking never makes any sense one way or the other. So I'm not going to sit here in front of you guys and go, I think I've got the NCAA figured out, because I don't, because nothing that they do makes any sense. If you want to talk for a while, like, that's my answer, Jason. Why does the NCAA suck? Because there's no consistency in any of it. There's no like, okay, we're going to have all of these second-time waivers decided by August 1st. No, some might be decided on June 27th. Some might be decided on July 15th, and others might be decided in November. And that's the frustrating part, is you have no idea where your case may fall. It's annoying. It doesn't matter if they set precedent, Chelsea. They don't care. It doesn't matter to them until it goes to court, and then court is like, your precedent is all over the place, and your bylaws suck, and you go to the Supreme Court, who all hate each other and never agree on anything, but yet they vote against you 9-0. Doesn't that register somewhere with these people in Indianapolis that what we're doing isn't working? Whatever. All right. I'm exhausted. 2 days in Indianapolis of volleyball. I appreciate everybody for chiming in. This was a hugely populated, bigly populated nightcap. Thanks to Berg for coming on. Wish we could have got him for a little bit longer, but he's got to do the husband and dad thing. I got to get up in the morning and take care of a puppy, who I think is right outside this door whining at me to take her outside so that she doesn't pee at the door again. We'll see you tomorrow night on the BBP. We'll have another nightcap tomorrow night, and we'll keep things rolling from there. Appreciate you. We'll see everybody soon. This is the nightcap. brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on Bearcat Journal.